Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Just make sure you're like right in there. You want to be able to
All right,
hear it.
we are live. Welcome, motherfuckers, to the Guest Perception Podcast.
I'm welcome.
I really wanted to open it up with that today, so that's what we're opening it up to. My lovely co-host Amanda Hansen and our Carolina. It's funny, actually.
It's Carolyn.
I respond to most variations except for Carol.
You know, it's funny. I was actually thinking about this last night, and I'm like, my brother's been all into this hot sauce, and apparently there's a hot sauce called Carolina Reaper or something. It's a
there's
really,
so
really,
many
really
now.
hot sauce, and I don't know why that was just in my head, but I was like, Carolina Reaper. I can't call her that. I cannot. I have to call her by her
That
actual
actually
name.
sounds pretty cool.
She's not a hot sauce. She's not a hot sauce. She's an artist. So lovely artist.
Carolyn Weaver
Yes.
is with us today. And thank you so much for coming because you had a bit of a trip to get here.
A bit of a ferry and a bit of a drive. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
okay, though.
So where are you living now? Because I was trying to, I knew that you were on the Sunshine Coast, but I didn't know exactly where.
Half Moon Bay, so it's past Seashell, and it's like really, really beautiful, like shockingly beautiful. It's as you go up the coast, it like changes a little bit. Like I lived in Roberts Creek, was so different from Gibson's, and then Seashell, it's different. Like even the vegetation, like
Really?
Half Moon Bay is like it's just pillows of lichen and moss and like
Oh,
stunted trees, and like we live on the water, and it's so quiet.
oh, that
Like,
sounds beautiful.
The first day we moved in, we opened beers on the deck, and it was just like, and we're like,
Because it like
Beers?
echoed.
yeah, it was like disturbing the peace. Like, it
Oh
was so
wow.
quiet.
I need to know what kind of beers these were.
They were probably Coors Banquet. Which
Okay.
is
That's
like
acceptable.
Yes.
Aw, amazing. So one of the, I guess, how you and I met, we met through, not through, but we met at the Lords of Gastown
Yeah.
in the shop, right?
Yeah.
One day.
So long ago, and we had such a great conversation.
Yeah.
And we just haven't had another one since.
Yeah, I know. It was great. Well, we communicate a bit through social media, but we haven't actually got to meet in person again since then. So thank you so much for, traveling to come here.
excited.
Oh my God. I'm so
Aw.
excited.
Yeah, it gets me out of the woods for a second too.
So when we first we're talking, like shortly thereafter, you were doing some work for Taco Fino.
Yes.
Yeah, and so what did you do with them?
I was hired to do like 3 paintings, and then they use those for little cards, I guess, something you get with your bill.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and then they also made larger prints of them to put in their Victoria restaurant. And
Okay.
I'm not sure anymore. They've expanded so much.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Definitely from the painting.
yeah.
That's
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah,
the
it was
expansion.
you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah.
I blessed you.
It's so good though. It's like
It looks like it's got this style of just like honest. Like you walk by and you're like, oh, that's really neat. Like it's super neat.
I actually like it was close to what I was doing before, and then the designer that contracted me to do it was always saying like, "Oh, your work reminds me of this artist," and I was like, "Oh, that's nice." And she'd be like, "You're both kind of similar people, similar kind of work." And then when she commissioned me to do that, I think she was thinking of that chick's work. So it was
Jeez.
almost like, and then somebody called me out and was like, "This looks like your work to the chick," and I was like, I guess I can see that, but then I saw farther down her feed that it was like very close.
Wow, so you guys did have a similar design
And
style.
it was very like parallel. And
Yeah.
then that commission kind of like, I like bumped into her, and I was like really kind of mortified.
Oh,
Yeah.
but even still, to be two incredibly talented artists, like to do what you do, there's 2 of you in the entire universe.
and everybody like, it depends on who's talking, and some people like guard their subject matter really, and it's like, oh, you're coming too close to my area. But really it's like, everybody was painting bowls of fruit for like a couple hundred years.
yeah,
It's like,
yeah. No, and I get that. Just in real life, I find that people are like, "This is mine."
yeah.
It's like
Only for me.
yeah,
Yeah.
this is my territory. Like I had some issues with like going into business with a girlfriend, and she didn't want me. Well, like we weren't going into business together, but she didn't want me to do anything she was doing in her business. And I was like, okay, so what? I have this small slice of the pie and I can't expand anywhere else.
Yeah. And things happen so naturally. Like we all kind of move together and like everybody, like the collective unconscious or whatever, people kind of come up with the same ideas at
Absolutely.
the same time. We're like generations aging together and like purging stuff from childhood. Like
Yeah.
there's so much of that in art now. Like where
Yeah.
people are just like,
Yeah.
all the advertising that was like pumped into our brains is like coming out in art. And yeah, I do see with the internet kind of generation too, they're more likely to just come in and like scoop an idea, because some things are really like, you can tell when it's an artist, it's their thing, their style and whatever. And then younger people are kind of feel everything's just there for them, and
Yeah.
then maybe don't think of it as copying so much, but then it just becomes a thing. It becomes a style on its own,
Yeah.
or a subject on its own.
So that's interesting that you say that, because that happens in pottery a lot. Somebody will will come up with a concept or a design, and then everyone's like, well, let's do it, just like the fruit bowl. So I guess in your area of expertise, it's a little bit more like, it's a little bit more like specialized. And
I think you can tell when somebody's actually copying you, as opposed to like, it's just what's happening now, or it's like a medium that people are using and exploring together or something,
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm curious, like, where did this all come from? Where, like, did like shit kind of bring us back to the beginning, day one, or like that moment where you were like, something interested you? Because I mean, it's so fascinating. That moment is where it all begins. So I'm curious to know what your moment was.
Oh, I know it. It was like grade 1. I drew a horse, and my parents were like, "Wow!" And I'm like, "This is what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life." But I didn't do it. Like I didn't pursue it. I like worked a bunch of jobs, but I would paint and draw after work. And then I got laid off, and I got a bunch of money. And I was just like, I'm gonna try this, and I just went to every art show I could and made a bunch of friends and
because
did it.
Your art is like, honestly, like nothing I've ever personally seen. So, that bish that had an issue, it's like,
but it was close. I was the bish.
No, I don't think so. But because we can still, like you said, like that parallel reality, right? It's like you probably hadn't seen her work, or even if you had, it wasn't something that you were conscious of.
Yeah.
And
or
I
like
think
comedians steal jokes by accident. It's by accident. 'Cause it'd be crazy to do it. Like a Netflix special with the same joke as like somebody you look up to. It's just like something that people do. It leaks into your brain, and people have the same ideas. There's so many of us.
Yeah. And then you also have kind of gotten into some other things, which I was surprised when I saw you making axes.
Oh yeah.
I was actually going to ask that question.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. I'm actually really curious about that. Axes.
Yeah,
Wow.
I was living in a cabin in like Roberts Creek. Yeah. And I had to chop my own wood and stuff. And
you needed a fancy fucking axe.
And like, this is so like weird and convoluted, because like when I was really young, my best friend and I would like do cocaine and go to Chinatown and buy like plates and stuff for the house, and it was all from Chinatown. We never moved in together, but we had all these plates under my bed.
Cool.
You had a cocaine dream.
Yeah, I would just like hide all of it, and then when I moved into that house, I was like, oh, like my main, kitchen thing or main house thing that I need is an axe, and I wanted to make it look like it was from Chinatown.
Okay.
So I made one for a friend, and then I just like kept on making them.
That's
getting
cool.
them like fancier and fancier, but I kind of like phased it out for a second because they're really hard to make, and I would have like 4 or 5 people helping me. Like I would have somebody doing leather, somebody like a goldsmith, or like a person that does stones. So it was like we would go to a restaurant, put the axes on the table, and like get a bunch of wine and just have like a big meeting.
Alcohol and axes.
Yeah,
Sounds
totally.
great. Sounds great.
It was really fun. I might go back to it. I have some half finished ones right now.
Yeah, you could pick that up at any time.
Yeah.
That's kind of like, like art is like that. You can go back to a painting or go back to the axe.
Yeah, and I wasn't like, some of them, they're really hard to finish properly to charge as much as I want. Like,
Yeah.
you know, you don't want to like a loose end.
Yeah.
I'm not like a 3D
So
sculptor or anything, but I did my best, and some of them turned out, and some of them I just like.
So that kind of brings me to a little bit of like the perfectionism that you must and the critical thinking that you must have upon put on yourself because you make such intensely perfect art. So tell me a little bit about that.
I just feel like I don't want it to be something that could be thrown away. Like, I'd rather it be like something somebody will keep or give to somebody who will like it.
Yeah.
I just don't want to make garbage.
Yeah.
I don't even make prints that often because I just want the real
deal.
one. And then, I feel like people pay a lot, and then it's got to be perfect. Like the show in Los Angeles, I flew down a few days early just to make sure none of the frames chipped.
Yeah.
And then I was like, is everything okay? And they're like, yeah, it's fine. There's like a little chip on this one. And I was like, it's
oh my God.
like hideous. The whole show is ruined, but I brought like glow powder with me and I like epoxied it. They're like, it's fine. Like, you're kind of being crazy. And I'm like, you're crazy.
Yeah.
If you're
You're like-
leave this chip on it.
And you're like, I count my
Yeah.
steps. You're nuts.
yeah, I don't like that you're not yelling at me right now to fix this. Like,
So you do
Wow.
have a bit of OCD.
yeah, but it's like doesn't really bother me. I feel like if I didn't have painting, I would be completely nuts though. Like, I'd probably be a stalker or something.
I don't know if you guys just heard that, but she basically said that essentially she went insane about a little chip on the corner of a painting. And honestly, in the entrepreneur world, if we care so deeply about what we're doing and we're trying to serve more and we're trying to grow ourselves, that is such a beautiful experience.
And like
when you
to
feel
everybody else, because I noticed too, like if I'm talking to somebody next to that painting, I would see their eyes land on it and they'd be like distracted for a second.
Yeah.
So like if I have
So
somebody
cool.
come to my house, I clean it like top to bottom, just in case they want to go into a room, or like if we're talking and then there's dust bunnies. I don't want to see their eyes do that. It like just distracts them.
that.
And even like, I don't know why I bought false eyelashes today. And then I never got them before because I feel like I get distracted by them when I'm talking to somebody. I'm just like.
Is what you wear, is it kind of an extension of the painting, or is it sort of influenced by, like, what kind of influences your creative side of, trying to always develop and create?
I think that like clothes are definitely like a separate thing for me. Like, I keep my closet light on all the time, so when I walk past, I might like an outfit might jump out at me.
Right. Okay.
And like I like it. It's fun. I don't put importance on it, but for me it's fun. Like once it's on me, I don't see it, but like it's fun to put it together, I guess. Like almost like collage or something.
Yeah, it's like an extension of your creativity.
Yeah.
You know?
I do sometimes wish I had more neutrals.
Yeah. No, I feel you there, because sometimes I was actually debating whether I wore this bikini with a mesh dress over top of it that has sequins all over the whole thing, and I was like, might be pushing it a little bit, But I like that it was unique and it was different, and and I like that. I like to be able to use fashion that way.
For sure. And like, yeah, I would never judge anybody else for what they're wearing. It's just like, it is just like about putting it together and doing it. And it's like fun. And Vancouver's not super receptive to crazy clothes.
No. Vancouver's not. It's very get in the box.
Yeah.
Stay in the box. And I've struggled with it because, I kind of do the Jack in the Box act where I get in and then I fucking jump out, and I get in and then I jump out, and I'm like, oh my God. Like, at this point I'm kind of lighting it on fire and just going, whatever. I'm just doing me. I'm just doing me.
Yeah. I just like getting back from Los Angeles. It was awesome. Everywhere I went, people were like, hey. And like Italy, it was rad. Like the guys just clap,
Oh my
and
God.
it's like,
The
white
Italian
people.
men.
Yeah. And then
Yeah,
here I
Europe
get like
is-
glares, like, why are you wearing sequins pants? And it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
Oh,
Good
I
for
love
you.
sequins.
I know.
Craig, you've been working on your fashion.
One piece at a time. I got one sock, I'm doing one sock, and then I'll do the other sock, and one shoe, and then the other
One,
shoe,
two,
and then
toe in.
and then I'm working my way up. instead of usually people work top down, I work bottom up.
Yeah,
So
that makes sense.
yeah, I mean, I was kind of fascinated. You mentioned that when you do painting, sometimes you'll sit in front of a painting for 11 fucking hours.
Yeah.
What?
15-minute breaks every like hour, 45 minutes. I do
Wow.
45 now because I was doing an hour before, and then I got tendonitis twice.
Right.
But yeah, it's like I feel like almost like, you know how your sleep cycles, you go deep and then you kind of go out and you get deeper and deeper as you go.
Yeah.
I feel like with concentration too, like I'm obsessed with concentration.
Mm.
It's like I just keep going like a bit deeper. By the end of the day, it's just like so awesome.
It's fascinating because an ADHD brain, like for me, when I'm in high concentration mode, I have to be moving. Like for
Oh,
me,
yeah.
when I'm driving
Yeah.
and I'm listening to an audiobook, that's when I'm focused the most.
Right.
That's when when there's things passing me and I'm moving and I'm in a constant state of progression,
yeah.
I feel like that's when I'm able to concentrate and retain the most, right?
Yeah.
If I'm sitting there, like for example, this sitting here, I'm actually like I'm engaged. As long as I'm engaged with something, then for me I'm able to actually concentrate and focus. I don't know if is that the same for you?
I don't know. I think it depends on like my level of interest, you know?
Yes.
Like if I'm interested, I can be super engaged, but if I'm not interested, I'm like, woo,
Yeah,
you know?
100%. I was talking to an artist on Instagram the other day, and it's like the things that you think are going to be easy in a painting are always kind of more difficult, and then the really hard stuff is like so engaging that it's fun.
Yeah.
And like I used to play pool with my friend, and
Yeah.
like I couldn't do a simple long shot, but if it was a trick shot, I could do it
Oh,
because it
wow.
was like more interesting. But and I think maybe in schools too, maybe the kids are just like give them harder homework or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because like it's just not hard enough for them maybe.
Yeah, and I found even with my son Phoenix, he has, some learning disabilities and he has ADHD, but I find when it's like really detailed, intricate work, he has no problem concentrating.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's like sometimes people are super intelligent but on a different sphere, in a different level.
Yeah.
So, do you have any current projects you're working on right now in the mainland, or what's at Carolyn's?
Carolyn.
Caroline Reaper.
Yeah, Carolyn Reaper.
I went back to the hot pepper for a minute there, so I was like, oh, help.
I'm
What's
so
on
bad.
your desk?
Doing some stuff, just kind of continuing a little bit of an abstraction from what I was doing. I've like added some like Playboy playing
Ooh.
cards.
Oh
So
yeah.
it's
That's really
nice because
neat.
there's a figure in them, and then I spray it with water, so it's like through these like globes of
Like a bubble.
bubbles.
Yeah.
Wow.
and then
I have those playing cards.
they're so funny.
Yeah, I have
They
them.
haven't changed in like decades.
Yeah.
But they
Still
work.
the same ones. Yeah, the
Yeah.
flight attendant,
Yeah.
lifeguard, and yeah, just mixing that with the same kind of subject matter. And
With the gummies, you have like childhood
yeah.
candies. And
Yeah, sometimes I buy them on eBay. Like the Pixie sticks for like $120.
I
Yeah,
love pixie
I
sticks.
know.
Remember, like just popping that little cap on the end and just being like,
Yeah.
like
And the
dumping all
new-
the sugar.
The new wrapper is just so like I hate new.
And I like the striped
wrappers.
ones. Ours
Yeah.
were striped, right? What are they now?
Oh, there's something like tacky and splashy and like.
Oh.
bleh.
Yeah,
I like the
the original.
The font is so nice. And
That shit doesn't
yeah.
go bad. You just got to go to some old candy store in like, the States, and you'll be like, there's the original.
Yeah.
It's 40 years old.
Yeah, I bought like a crystal Pepsi can from Germany for like $30.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So one of the things we kind of just touched on was ADHD and then for myself, I was diagnosed with ADHD probably about like 10 years ago or something like that. And it's one of those things that quite often ADHD and autism and all kinds of other things go undiagnosed for a long period of time. But you were explaining earlier that you've been dabbling in microdosing
Yeah.
Ritalin.
Yeah, it's really good. My doctor was just kind of like, okay, like she handed it over so fast. And I was like, I want a small dose. And then she gave me the smallest pill they had. And then I break that up into quarters and I take like just a quarter in the morning. So 0.25, I guess,
Yeah.
milligrams or something.
Mm-hmm.
And, or 25, sorry. And, And yeah, it's just enough. Like I don't want to feel it because I was scared I was going to turn into a little bit of a junkie.
Yeah.
And like, I think that's what happens. You're just like, oh, I don't feel it. It's
Yeah.
boring. And
That's
it's
like me.
you know, yeah, it's like,
Give me more.
yeah. So I'm not like, I was just really cognizant not to be like after the rush, you know, I was like, let's
Yeah.
just like, cause I really enjoyed, yeah, the focus was so nice. It took away my anxiety. And I feel like people that are prescribed this stuff, sometimes they're taking too much and then they get really anxious and they have to take something else for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like a really low dose, like I'm surprised.
Well, I can remember on another like level, there was a couple years ago, I was mentally not doing well. We won't explain why. It may have something to do with a dick. But
No.
anyhow,
Meat suit.
yeah, no, yeah, it was a penis meat suit. But anyhow, and they gave me
Delicacy.
yeah, it was a real delicacy, not poison. It's like food
Yeah.
poisoning penis. But ultimately,
Oh boy.
that was like they gave me lithium. And they gave me the lowest amount that they could give you because
Yeah.
I was like, like the meat suit was just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so they gave me this amount and they tested my blood and I had like way lower than therapeutic levels. And I was literally sleeping 12 hours at night
Ooh.
and I was awake for and then I was sleeping maybe 8 hours during the day. And I was like, I think it's too much, doctor.
Yeah.
And he's like, you're on the lowest dose. So it was the lowest dose. So I was
That's
like, hey,
insane.
I clearly can't be taking lithium or anything like that. So I think that there's some of these pharmaceutical medications that can be microdose and perhaps we are being over
Yeah.
Isn't that
I
a battery?
definitely think so.
lithium.
is battery, isn't it?
I think it was a medicine first and then lithium took the
Yeah.
story.
The doctor's prescribing us batteries.
No,
Okay, hang on a second
it's a mineral. It's a mineral. It's a mineral. And so yeah, so also it's a mineral and it has like these sedative qualities to it.
Oh.
So it's kind of like the opposite of Ritalin.
Yeah.
And I guess just because of my hyped up system due to bad meat suits, you know, that was their idea. Like, oh, we'll put her on this, da da da, and it like literally knocked me out. And I was like, okay, that's insane.
And that's like, there's something like they're like, oh, we don't want to add speed to this fire.
Yeah.
I guess. But I
It
felt,
helps.
yeah, because I was like, okay, so I'm like a boat on the
Gasoline
ocean,
on
like
the
this.
fire.
And then the Ritalin
the
was just like
best.
a little motor on it, and then I'm cutting through the waves, and
Yeah.
then I'm steady.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
a great analogy.
I think you just need like a little more speed.
I wonder what that
sometimes.
would look like in a painting.
Yeah,
Well, you're doing it. You're
doing it.
Yeah, she's doing it now. So how long have you been trying the microdosing Ritalin?
it's been like 9 months,
Okay, and it's
8,
going well.
10 months maybe. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, okay.
I love it. And my boyfriend's like, well, you're on drugs, remember? I'm like, you steal it to play video
Druggie.
games, remember? But I take
How do you think you got all those kills?
I take so little, and I don't think he realizes like how much less stressed
It
I
costs.
was.
Yeah.
And I'm not super speedy on it. But then I also started doing NLP, like neuro-linguistic programming.
I know
Yeah.
what that is.
Yeah, because after I got tendonitis, because I went psycho on my deadline, I was like, wow, solo show. And I started like working, you know, like an insane person. And then
I
got
remember talking
tendonitis.
to you around then. Yeah.
Yeah, it was so brutal. And then I went and did like all the treatments. Like sometimes I do like 3 in one day. Like do mushrooms at the float tank, and then I go for a massage and acupuncture, like all this crazy
Jeez.
stuff. And then after I got better in like 3 weeks, I think, which is like pretty fast. And I was
Yeah.
like, okay, I can't wreck this. I'm not going to start like stress drinking because I missed like a huge chunk of time in my deadline.
Yeah.
So I went and got hypnotized, and it was awesome. I was just like, I don't want to quit, but I don't want to like use it as a crutch or a stress drink. And it was just like doing that, just having that off the table, like drinking as not an option.
Yeah.
It calmed me down so much.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So that's something that you have done in the past is stress drink
Yeah.
alcohol.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Just like every 3 days, like a bottle of wine.
Yeah.
And it totally makes it worse. I drank wine
It's an
like 2
escape.
days ago, and I was just like, that wasn't worth it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. It's been 13 years for me. Mine,
wow.
yeah, 13 years I haven't drank.
Congratulations.
I had 2 drinks, like a while ago. And it was just one of those things where I thought that the funny thing is why I decided to drink was I was trying to fit in with like other people. I thought it would make my relationship better because I was always fighting with them about their drinking problem. I was like, maybe if I just like throw myself in
Halfway.
yeah, if I
Yeah.
just meet you halfway,
That does make sense though.
it wouldn't be so much of an issue for me. But then, I just decided, it's for right now until I get a few more things sorted out in my life, like my career and things like that, it was probably off the table for now.
Yeah, I feel like even especially if you're trying to do something,
Yeah.
I feel like it like deadens your like signal, like
Yeah.
whatever you put out.
Yeah, your frequency.
It's like it totally does. It like interrupts it.
Yeah.
And I was talking to my friend at the airport. We ran into each other, and we were just kind of like, "What if you didn't interrupt it?"
Yeah.
And like it's like static on the carpet, like build it
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
And yeah. So I noticed too. Just the other day, I was like, "Oh, I wrecked my like static
your
build
little-
up." Yeah.
That's okay. I think
Yeah.
it comes back really, really quickly, and when we have the cognitive awareness,
I think so. Yeah.
around these sort of things. It's one of those things if you're, zooming through life like a zombie and you're kind of like, you don't think about drinking. You don't think if it makes a difference at all whatsoever. But once you take a pause and you go, really, is this drinking actually serving me? And, or am I covering up something with it?
Yeah, I think also my attitude towards it was different. It was changing anyway, like especially after COVID. It was like I'm so isolated where I am.
Yeah.
And then we were like literally isolated, and then it was like I mentioned it to my doctor too, and she's like, "Oh, everybody's drinking is so messed up now." Like, because I'm like, I drink really fast. Like, I would hammer a bottle of wine because I'm like talking to my mom, and there's no like waiting for a server to come bring you another one. You're just like, so anyway, like like shooting a bottle of wine basically.
Yeah.
And then it's easy to like ratchet up, but it's hard to like
Knock
go
it back.
So I was just like, it's changing. I think I'm just getting older too, and I don't handle it as well.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna try it. So I just go see a lady, and I'm like, which is it's like getting lipo instead of exercising.
Lipo for your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like if you have OCD too, like trying to quit something is
It's
like,
hard.
oh, you're gonna like
Because you
like
feed
I'll
from
rebel
that.
against myself.
Yeah.
I'll be like,
Because you feed from that.
yeah. So and I've quit lots of things.
Yes.
And really easily, but for some reason that one, and the more I say that, the worse.
Well,
it
yeah.
is.
Well, I was actually with, when I was married, my husband would be like, come on, let's have a glass of wine, da da da. And I'd be like, oh, I hadn't drank in like 3 or 4 days. And then, in my own body, I'd feel like, no, you probably don't. You don't. I knew I didn't want to have the drink.
Yeah.
But then once I'd have the drink, then he'd be like, okay. He's like, there's that fly you were talking about. It just came and saw
Yeah.
me.
See, I wasn't lying.
Yeah. And then, then we'd have the drink, and then a couple drinks in, he'd be like, okay, you're done. And I'm like, and I'm done.
No.
Really? Are you kidding me? Like,
Get out of the way.
no.
I know.
And then that makes it really hard. So it
Yeah.
has to be something, that comes from within, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I've found also there's like a little extra brand of stress attached to like, or say like if you smoke or something,
Yeah.
and then you're in a stressful situation, you'll feel like an extra added stress to have that.
I know.
And I didn't realize how much I ratcheted up stress, like almost to enjoy the drink more or to validate the drink. Like maybe it's like manufactured stress
yeah.
just to get at that, like validate it.
That's really fascinating.
But with
have you ever
NLP, it disappeared. And I think like when you just quit, maybe you go through things, but when you do that, when you just get your brain washed, it's just like all at once. And then you notice stuff like it's glaring. It's crazy. It's really
Brainwash.
nice. Yeah. I love it.
So what exactly is the MLP? I feel like it's multi-level marketing.
Yeah. No, it's a neuro-linguistic programming.
Okay.
So it's like
Vocabulary.
It's not like hypnosis, like
Yeah.
lay down, but it's like you're moving around in your brain. Somebody's directing
You're
you.
exploring. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you visualize certain things, and like doing it yourself, like I guess you can, like I do brain tap as well, and it's just different than when you have somebody like tailoring it right to you, like
Metaphors as well. I know
Yeah.
NLP is involved with a lot of metaphor. Like,
for sure. Yeah,
to
like
try to-
looking at a picture of yourself.
Yes,
Now it's
yes,
black and white,
yes.
and it's in the past,
Yeah,
and like
yeah.
the one for drinking, it was like, as I said, I was like, I don't want to totally quit. Like I want to have a glass of wine with my friends. I want to have a
Social,
different
right?
attitude.
Social.
Yeah. And then, but she changed the way I look at it.
Yes.
So like it looks different, and there's like no sheen on it. Like it doesn't look the same. When there's a glass of wine in front of me, it doesn't look the same, but I can kind of like break through and drink it if I want. But
Yeah.
my first reaction isn't like gravitating towards it and I want
Yes.
that. It's kind of like it looks dull.
Yeah.
It's weird
I
when
mean,
it used to look like.
It's so fascinating.
Like the answer.
Yeah.
It's so fascinating because when you change the way you look at something, what you look at changes,
Yeah.
right? So,
yeah.
I need to go and cut the grass. Oh my God, I got to go and cut the grass. But I get to put Audible in my ears.
Yeah.
I get to exercise.
Yes.
I'm changing the way I look at something,
Yeah.
and it's changing the outcome and the outlook of what I'm trying to do, right?
And if you're enjoying the thing you're doing, it's good for
Yes.
you. If
Connect
you
it
were
to
mowing the
meaning.
lawn and you were
Yes.
miserable, your body wouldn't be
Yes.
registering it as exercise. It would be like punishment, and then you might get hurt or something. But if you're like enjoying the stuff you do, this is my theory that
Well, I think I totally get that, because I feel like the perception of whatever it is, if you can shift your perception, then we have the ability to make anything great. So, I started going through this huge evolutionary change like a couple years ago. And in the last year, I was able to just basically do what you're talking about, Craig, put a podcast in and do my gardening. And because I was just happy in the moment, even though it was like pluck a weed, pluck
Yeah.
a weed, pluck a weed, it's monotonous stuff.
Yes.
But I was able just to love listening to Eckhart Tolle. I don't recommend reading his books, but I personally find his geekiness really comical.
I have one of his books.
They're hard to read, but they're
I
easy
can't
to.
remember what I did with it. It's sitting beside a chair.
Yeah,
you-
well,
I
it's,
read part of it. I know I did.
it's hard to read. They are hard to read, but when you listen to it, it's a lot easier. And
Mm-hmm.
I would listen to some of his books, and I would just do my tasks that I needed to do, and I could get into the moment and just be totally at peace.
Yeah.
It sounds like me when I'm involved with something that I'm really not wanting to do. I just think about iron condors and credit spreads, and I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah,
I can
yeah.
do this.
Craig with
I can
his
do this.
charts and
I
and
can do
graphs.
this.
Yeah.
Because that's what you like. That's what soothes you. And
Order. Right?
Order from McDonald's.
so to take a twist from any of the from what we're talking about, I'm curious if you have tried any psychedelic therapy, if you've went into that realm for
Yeah. I was microdosing mushrooms for a while, and then I ran out, and then I forgot. But then I just got some from my friend the other day, and I took some. It was like nice, like just so little, barely feel it.
yeah.
And then I took like a whole cap, and it was like so nice and crunchy, and it was kind of big, and I was like, I think that's gonna be a thing.
Yeah.
And then it was like, I never have bad trips, but I got really, I'm like, I gotta move. Like, I gotta
Yeah.
like,
Gotta
start
go in
packing.
nature.
You're
I wanted to
creative.
move like out of my house
Creative.
and like move to the city or something
Yeah.
for a second. And I'm like, is that like a real buried thought, or is that just like what I decided to panic about?
Yeah,
Like-
maybe it was just like creating some animosity of like sometimes it's like when we get really comfortable, I think, if we're geared in a certain way, when things are running smoothly, we like to throw a wrench in it.
Yeah, that's true.
Like that could possibly have been it, right? You live in this beautiful cabin on the water,
Yeah.
and it's like
It's been like 4 Christmases. It's like feeling, I have been, and we've both been feeling a little bit of that too. We're like, it's so nice. Like, it's like so stunning there. And then, but we're just like, it'd be nice to go to a restaurant easily or
Yeah.
see friends easily. And yeah, I think, also like part of my OCD is like a routine.
yeah.
So sometimes moving is really good for me. I used to move like every couple of years, basically.
Yeah.
So this is like one of the longest things. So my routine is getting like bonkers.
Yeah,
And I'm like, I think I need to like shuffle the deck, you know, because,
absolutely.
but,
I can
or just like
I can
try,
relate.
like
Yeah.
coming
Yeah.
here, like breaking my routine was like, I'm like, my boyfriend was like, good for you. I'm like, I'm trying new stuff. I'm going to go visit my family, but I'm like sweating, thinking about like going to
Uncomfortable,
Port Coquitlam to
Yeah.
visit them. Like, I can still jump on the ferry, but like, I have to break that. Like,
Yeah.
it's not healthy to just work every single day, painting every single day, like 11 hours. Like, but that's all I want to do.
No, I get that.
But when you break that, you discover new sort of passions, and you discover
Yeah.
like I find I'm trying to break everything. Like
Good.
I'm literally just out there. I'm trying to just see what's out there. Like I just
Yeah.
because you just never know until you explore.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
if you don't explore, you won't know.
And meeting different people, like going out, and also like I don't see my old friends, which is kind of crazy. Like, so yeah,
And sometimes we outgrow people, you know, it's not to say that we outgrow them in a negative way, but it's just like sometimes, you know, it's just doesn't resonate,
Yeah.
like, you know, and I've definitely had that more so happening to me recently, which, cause I've had friends since I was like a child that I
Yeah.
still talk to. And then all of a sudden I was just like, I don't know. Things just weren't like, I think when your awareness kind of changes and your perception of things changes,
Yeah.
you can be like, I don't know.
yeah, for sure. And then you're more choosy because your time is so much more valuable. When
Yeah.
So you're like, who am I spending my time with? And
Yes.
yeah,
Well, I find, even with me, with my friends, is, I have people that just talk about the same old stuff. It's this. Oh yeah, the weather's great. It's just like,
very
okay,
surface.
we need to evolve here, guys. Like,
Yeah.
and these are the kind of conversations, and it's okay to have these kinds of people in your life, but are they serving you? And to get back to your point, to make sure it serves you in all aspects, I think that's the really
Mhm.
important
yeah.
part of the journey, because we all have needs, and each one of us, as we mentioned last time, our need is to grow. So it's I think it's very important that we continue to evolve.
Yeah, and those sweet little surface conversations are great too, but like you can't survive off
Yes.
of them. It's just like sugar.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly. And I find that as I grow and evolve, my depth and my perception is just, it's an evolutionary process. And sometimes things that I used to be okay having conversations about, I now find deadly boring.
Yeah.
Or I'm like, I feel like they're trapped in like a loophole where it's just like the same loop. It's just like leapfrog. They go from like, one guy to the next guy to the next guy to the next guy. And it's just like literally, a decade later, the same story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't, unless you really talk about it or challenge yourself too. Like if I complain about a boyfriend too many times, I'm like, it's time to break up.
Yeah.
You only have a few chances with your friends to bitch. And then it's like either I stop bitching or I break up. You
Yeah.
know? And
There's something wrong
Yeah.
if I have to keep complaining about the same person
mhm.
over and over again. And that was something that I was really slow to pick up on just within my, friend relationships. I'm like, oh man, this person really crosses like all my boundaries and doesn't seem to give a shit. And then I would realize I'm like, maybe I'm the problem. Maybe I need to start, caring about who I have in my space.
Yeah. Or maybe things just don't fit.
Yeah.
Maybe they used to.
Yeah.
They don't anymore. And that's I kind of used to move around a lot, or I spent time in the US. Like I'd go for like 6 months to Philadelphia and then 6 months to San Francisco and like just kind of move around. And then I'm just like making all these friends on the way, and then I just leave. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I just do that. Or I just move somewhere else. And
So
then I
cool.
feel like, oh shit, like I feel like people think I'm bailing or something. But I keep in contact with people as much as I can. But I also feel like, oh, I've made so many close friends, and then I just move on,
But
not
that's,
in a cold way, in a like experience way.
I think that that's beautiful. And I honestly think that that's one of the things I personally really love and respect about you is how we had made that really great connection and bond.
yeah.
And that, I never once felt like, I have to see her in order to like keep this connection alive.
Yeah, my friend Anna was saying too, she's like, it's weird, we've only seen each other like, 10 times maybe, but she's like, I think you're like one of my best friends, and we'll talk on the phone like once every 2 years or something, but we go like right to it.
I know.
And
I
like,
know. That's exactly,
Yeah.
that is exactly how I feel about like, you know, just a small group of people, like, you know, maybe 3 or 4 women in my life. I met them and it was just like this instant connection.
Yeah.
And I never felt like I needed to monitor it because I knew that when I was gone doing my stuff, they were doing their stuff,
Yeah.
and there was that mutual respect, and it wasn't like, oh, that chick's a fucking bitch.
Yeah.
You know,
We're like,
"Oh,
I can't
she
believe you
thinks
didn't come to my birthday party.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm never coming to your
Yeah.
birthday party. Like,
Yeah.
that's just something that's going to happen. Like, I don't leave the house a lot. Like,
Yeah.
and I don't get mad when somebody can't see me. Like, my twin sister just called in the Uber or whatever, and she was like, I'm so sorry, I might not be able to see you. I'm like, only come if it's easy. Like,
Yeah.
don't come if you're going to be frazzled. Like, I'm not going to be butthurt. You're
Yeah.
like, I'll see you.
I think what was
when it's
happening for
good.
me, because I did definitely get butthurt on some occasions when people weren't showing up. But I think what I was getting confused with was it wasn't them not showing up. It was like what was happening. Their perception of me wasn't actually what it was, right? Like,
Yeah.
and then that's what it was bothering me. It wasn't that they didn't show up. I was like, okay, when you're not with me, you talk shit.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And I was like,
I
were
was
you the friend that people like were like, Amanda, like,
yeah.
I'm worried about her, or like,
Or-
I'm that friend too. Like, Caroline needs a new purse. I heard one of them say, and I was like, are you kidding me? Like, but
I love that purse.
well,
and no,
this
you
was,
don't.
Like a few years ago, but still, it was like I was using a tote bag, and I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't
Who
look at you
cares?
and think you need a makeover or get inside your relationship, you know. But some people do. I think groups of chicks tend to do that.
yeah,
They
groups
have
of
whoever's
chicks.
not there is the project, and
Yeah.
then they get paranoid because they know.
Well, it's like, and if you pop the hood, like, okay, yeah, you could be a fucking, you know, a Lamborghini, but if you pop the hood and there's no engine, well,
Yeah.
really? How fast are you going to be going?
Hot
babe?
Wheels.
You know, like, and sometimes people will say like, oh, wow, like you're really not doing well. I'm like, you think I'm not doing well now? I'm like,
Yeah.
good Lord, you should have seen, like, I had nothing. I had like no wheels on the car. I had no engine in there. Like,
Yeah.
never changed the oil. You know, now
Oh,
it's
boy.
like things are moving a little bit, you know, smoother.
Yeah.
But it makes people feel uncomfortable when others grow.
But also, if like you're open about and you talk openly about things that are going wrong or your mental health or something, and then other people are hiding it, then
Yeah.
they think that you're doing bad. But it's like you're the one that's doing good almost. Like,
Yeah, because
'cause
like
you're
we're
trying.
because we're actually like showing up and like changing ourselves, right? And I feel like that is definitely something that, you know, a lot of people just stay the same.
Mm-hmm.
And did you feel that with alcohol? Did you feel like when you were kind of in these like periods of drinking, and maybe because you drink too, that like if you get into
I
these
drink?
well, don't you drink alcohol?
What's
talk
that?
about-
I'm underage.
You drink and
Sounds
golf.
good.
I'm only like 17, you know, you guys here.
But like, do you feel like you get stuck into these periods where, you know, it can be like binding you?
I'll drink like when I go out, obviously,
Yeah.
but I don't go out a lot, and I keep social groups like that at arm's length because then they're so fun and charming. But
Yeah.
if you're around too much, then it turns into that. So I just
Yeah.
I'm busy at home and working anyway, so it's just like I don't fight with anybody. No friends. I don't fight with anybody. It's awesome. Like I
Yeah.
don't have drama because I'm not around long enough to
Yeah.
have any.
I'm not really too much of a drinker, to be honest. Like, I'll have one or two, and you
That's
know,
awesome.
after I taste the beer or whatever, it's just like it's the same thing. Like, why should I
Yeah.
keep going? And then if you mix, it becomes an even bigger problem.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'll have one or two, and you know, have some water, whatever, and then I'm happy after that. Just to taste some refreshing type whatever.
That's
and I'm
exactly
good.
how people are supposed to do it.
Yeah.
Like you've got it. That's awesome. But I don't do it that well. Like a little after being hypnotized, I'm better at it. Like
Yeah.
drinking water or saying no when
Yeah.
the server
Well, it's-
comes by.
It's funny, like in my family, that's not the case. Like we had a birthday party for I think it was either my dad's birthday or my uncle's birthday party or something, and I'll never forget this super funny story. You know, we were sending my uncle off home. We were in the front yard, right, and there's this big bush, and my uncle's just like, oh, I'm gonna tackle you, and I'm just saying, oh yeah, okay, whatever. He's obviously whatever had as much as he could handle, and he just starts sprinting for me, and the bush
Oh
is
my
right there, and I
gosh.
sidestep, and all of a sudden I hear branches cracking, and I'm hearing all this like stuff happen behind me, and I look back, and I'm like, oh boy, you're gonna have a sore shoulder tomorrow.
Yeah. And that's the
Um,
thing that like once you're past like 3 or 4 drinks, it's just gonna cost you. It's
Yeah.
like,
Yes.
you lost your AirPods.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
God.
Like
yeah.
that. Like
Oh my gosh, that's like my kid. Like every day, Mom, have you seen my AirPods? I'm
Yeah.
like, no, Phoenix, I haven't. But like, okay, so do you have any projects that you're currently working on right now? Like, what's your big painting that you're doing now? Are you doing one or any?
just a couple of the Playboy card, like
That's-
nudes. Like I'm doing like
because I've seen
4 of
one of them.
them.
Okay, so you're doing a series of them.
yeah, there's 4 more of them, and I'm just
Okay.
kind of like because there's some galleries that are like circling overhead, and I'm just waiting to see who lands. There was one in Hong Kong that I was just like had a bad feeling about, and that's the nice thing about the NLP and the Ritalin too, that I'm more like, because I'm like, a year ago I would have been like, yeah, because they wanted to sign this big contract and all this, and I was like, nope. And I was able to like stay steady and not just bite. And then I started contacting the other artists, and they were like, don't sign. I'm like, thank God. I just was able to pay attention to my instincts more, because I'm not like flailing ADHD.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's fascinating because I think that does happen. We lose that connection. What's
It's
up, Craig?
so true.
This is so well. I'm just thinking to myself. You got 2 lovely ladies here that and myself as well. We all have ADHD, and there's
Yeah.
one thing in common here, that it's amazing that we can take our gifts and just use
Yeah.
our fucking gifts. Like, we have gifts inside of us.
And
Use it.
Some people that have it, they're like not able, like I feel like we're lucky because we like used it to our advantage
Yeah.
and worked on it. And like, I think sometimes ADHD and OCD can be like paralyzing.
Yes.
And I feel lucky that mine is like a drive. Like that's just the way, and it might start off the same when you're young, and then there's just one thing that like you're either paralyzed or it drives you.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I feel super lucky that I'm able to work with it, and it doesn't really like, I am obsessed with certain things like focus, and I did hurt myself. I know that I hurt myself during that deadline because I was trying to be hyper focused, which is like an addiction almost. It feels amazing.
Yeah.
But then I'm like not moving, and I'm just like, I
Yeah.
had torn biceps, I had golfer's elbow, tennis elbow, I had something here like bursitis or something, and then there was a tendonitis here too. My
Right.
arms were just like garbage, and it was like from just tiny little brushes, like
Yeah. And just holding that hyper focus. I totally
Yeah.
get that. And yeah, and it's nice for me now because I am working, and I am actually painting, but I'm not painting anything like that, like what you're doing. Obviously, it's still like big, lime wash walls, but I still, can get into that hyper focus zone. And like I have a sore shoulder today because I was, doing
Yeah.
that and not, paying attention. And then I overworked my shoulder, and, I'm a little bit sore because of it. So we do have to be mindful when we have that.
Like if you set timers too and like stretch or something.
Yeah, that's a good
that's
idea.
Like I have to stop. And I used to, now it's like 45 minutes that I can paint in a row. But I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, body. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, you're doing so well, and I'm like so happy that you were able to come out and make it all the way from Half Moon Bay. What a beautiful place. Everybody needs to Google where Half Moon Bay is because
So
it
nice.
looks
No, it's
Not
ugly.
bad.
It's awful.
Don't go.
Don't
I
Google that. Google this lovely lady and check out her lovely.
Absolutely. And follow Carolyn Weaver. And, we would love to have you back another time.
For sure.
And what else could we talk about? Like what's some sort of grit that you think could be another topic? Art and cocaine? No.
Oh my God, I wouldn't be able to do that. I'd just be like chain smoking.
Do you have any other passions other than art that you're involved in, or do you have any like side hobbies? Because art's kind of like your main thing, right?
I know.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, I need a hobby.
Like
I walk every day.
Oh, okay.
Like like a psycho though. Like neighbors are like, "Are you okay? Like is something wrong?" I'm like, power walking.
Okay, Lucha,
But
what
I
do you
love
want me to
that.
say? You want something about the axe? Talk about the axes? We
Okay,
already
our
talked
creative-
about the axe.
No. What are we talking about? The
Are
axes?
we going to be
Hang on.
throwing axes or bring an axe? I already tried to get her to bring the axe.
Can you share a bit more about the axes? I don't know what our creative director wants to hear, but we can just talk about axes.
Oh, right. So in the cabin in Roberts Creek, like I was single too. So I was like on my own and I was like, I have to
Cut
learn
wood.
how to chop wood. And then these guys gave me like a whole truckload of like yellow cedar. I was like, thank you. But then my buddy who I had been working
jeez.
with, like in the weed industry or whatever, he came over and we were like drinking beers and I started like chopping wood or trying to. And he's like, you're going to die this winter. You're going to die of
You're gonna
like,
freeze to death.
hypothermia
No,
or
I'm not.
blood loss. And
No,
it was
I'm
just like
not.
glancing blows with the axe. But then I like totally learned how to chop. And it's like, it's so like every time I would do it, it's like a month how I need to live my life. Like go right through, like, here's the problem. You're aiming down here.
Yeah.
And then also like in the brain tap hypnosis things I do, it's like a martial artist aims beyond the board. Like picture yourself finishing it so you can break through.
That's
But
great.
like, yeah, I actually started like almost like a little cult. It was like a wood chopping cult.
It's so cool.
And we broke up really soon because we're like, this is getting too culty.
Yeah.
But it was like more like a wood chopping philosophy club. And we'd like talk about like what we learned while we were chopping
Wow.
wood. And we'd chop wood together. And like,
Jeez.
yeah, it was really
Aw.
like, and then we were going to have
That's
these big
immersion there.
parties with like patches
Axe
and
parties.
stuff.
I love
So,
it.
Yeah, everybody would have like jean
That's, like,
jackets
next
with patches
level.
from the parties. Yeah,
Wow.
it would have been really cool.
That will be really cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's something you can still do. You know,
Yeah.
we've got a summer, and then you can plan for next winter.
Yeah.
We'll be picking up the axe cult.
I've got one more really quick question. Do you do like body painting at all? Like if somebody
No.
stands beside you, do you like, or is that
Oh, like a
different?
live?
Yeah, like if I were
No.
to just like stand there, just like Peter Griffin for
He
like
would just
an hour.
wants you to
Oh
paint
no!
him.
No, I'm just
You'd have to
curious.
stand there for a month.
Oh,
Like I wouldn't be able to
Yeah.
do it.
yeah, it would be like a couple months. We'd have to
Yeah,
like
I don't know how
we'd
people
have to
do it.
IV some food into you there.
Yeah, I don't know how people do it, but yeah, I totally don't do that.
Oh, okay.
It's too hard.
That's
I-
disappointing.
Yeah,
No, it's not. It's
I'm
disappointing. for-
disappointed.
yeah, Craig's disappointed.
I wanted a painting.
and I can't draw. Like it would be awful. You should see my drawings; are terrible.
You're okay, so that's
Yeah.
fascinating.
I
It's-
used to draw, but now I just like 'cause
Strictly
too much
paint.
commitment, and now the paint I just kind of put it down and like push it around.
Yeah.
And
Oh my
that's
God,
like-
you make it sound like it's like, oh, I push around paint. Anyhow, she's like literally one of the most talented painters that I've ever
That's so nice.
seen and met, and I just adore you. And I
Thank
think that
you.
you are just honestly just not just a talented painter, you're a beautiful soul and a beautiful person.
That's so sweet, Amanda. Thank you.
And I'm just like so grateful to have you on here. So thank you so much, Carolyn Weaver. Please check her out. Check out Carolyn Weaver Art
Yeah,
on Instagram. And do you have a link to a webpage or anything like that from there?
CarolineWeaver.ca.
CarolynWeaver.ca. And,
The hot pepper.
Yeah, Caroline Reaper.
yeah.
Carolina Reaper.
And you,
Changing it.
and you can follow her there. Please, everybody follow. And hopefully, we'll let you know when we have Carolyn back in the studio.
Yeah,
So
that
thank you
was
so
fun.
much. Yeah, it was.
All right, motherfuckers. We're out. Peace out.